Then we move to the fourth book from the books of hadith, which is Jami' at-Tirmidhi. Jami' at-Tirmidhi. And like always, we will start with a brief biography of this great Imam at-Tirmidhi. His kunya was Abu Isa, and his name was Muhammad ibn Isa ibn Sawra. Abu Isa, Muhammad ibn Isa ibn Sawra, as-Sulami al-Bughi at-Tirmidhi. As-Sulami al-Bughi at-Tirmidhi. As far as the ascription to Sulami, then it is the ascription to the tribe of Sulaim. Tribe of Sulaim. And despite research, the scholars could not authenticate or find out if Imam Tirmidhi was from this tribe itself, an Arab, or he was ascribed to this tribe by way of wala, as we said. If his great-grandfathers accepted Islam on a person from this tribe, or they were freed slaves of this tribe, the scholars could not reach to a conclusion in this issue. But he is ascribed to Sulaim, his Sulami. As far as the ascription to al-Bughi at-Tirmidhi, then it is first ascription to something that is more specific and then something that is more general. Al-Bughi, Bugh is a town from the towns of the city of Tirmidh. Bugh is a town from the towns of the city of Tirmidh. So first he is ascribed to that town, Al-Bughi, something more specific. Then at-Tirmidhi, the city, something that is more general. And this city, Tirmidh, today is the southernmost city in the country of Uzbekistan. It is a city that is on the border of Uzbekistan and Afghanistan. It is the southernmost city in the country of Uzbekistan. Imam at-Tirmidhi, rahimahullah, he was born in the year 209 after the Hijrah. 209 after the Hijrah. And he also, like the remaining scholars of Hadith, started to seek the knowledge of Hadith and listen and gather Hadith from a very young age. And from the most earliest of his scholars was a muhaddith by the name of Muhammad ibn Ja'far al-Qumisi. Muhammad ibn Ja'far al-Qumisi, he passed away in the year 220 after the Hijrah. So he was born in 209. This Shaykh passed away in 220. So that makes him how old? 11 years of age. So he started seeking Hadith and gathering Hadith at a young age of 11 years. And after gathering Hadith from the scholars of his city and his area, he started his travels in the seekness of Hadith. And he started the travel in the year 235 after the Hijrah. 235 after the Hijrah, meaning his age was almost 26 years. He was almost 26 of age when he started his travels in seeking Hadith. And he had a vast travel like the great muhaddithin before him. And he remained in this travel, not returning to his city and to his family and his people for a period of 20 years. 20 years, from 235 until 255, he remained in this vast travel from east to west, thousands of kilometers, gathering the hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he entered al-Iraq and heard from the muhaddithin of Iraq in the cities like Baghdad, Kufa, Basra. And he entered al-Hijaz, Mecca and Medina. And he also traveled to Ash-Sham, where he entered Damascus, Dimashq. And he also traveled to Khurasan, and other than them from the centers of hadith in that time. We will show an image here. This is the present map of Uzbekistan. And where is Tirmidh? The southernmost city here, right here, with on the border of Afghanistan. This is the city of Tirmidh, where Imam at-Tirmidhi was from, rahimahullah.
Still exists?
Yeah, it still exists with the same name. Some of these cities and areas, their names have been changed, but many of them remain with the same name. So this is Tirmidh. As we said, Imam Bukhari was from Bukhara, in Uzbekistan also. And then the next map. As you can see, this is a zoomed in image. Can you zoom out? This is the town of Bul in the city of Tirmidhi. This is a picture from that city. Many of the cities that the muhaddithin lived in, now they are inhabited. They are old historical cities that the people have left for other cities. So some of the cities are inhabited, uninhabited. Then the next picture. This is the vast travel of Imam at-Tirmidhi for a period of 20 years seeking the knowledge of hadith. So as we can see, he was born in Tirmidhi, he sought knowledge from the ulama of Tirmidhi, then he traveled to the various cities of Khurasan, Maro, Nisabur, Rai, Qazvin, then he entered Iraq to the capital city Baghdad, Kufa, Basra, then he went to Al-Hijaz, Makkah, Al-Madinah, and also he entered Sham, Dimashq, etc. So this is the vast travels of Imam at-Tirmidhi in the seeking of hadith. And in his travels he heard from the great muhaddithin and the memorizers of hadith of his time. So from the foremost of his shuyukh and scholars is Imam al-Bukhari, rahimahullah. From the foremost of his teachers and his shuyukh is Imam al-Bukhari. And from his shuyukh and teachers is Imam Muslim and Abu Dawud al-Sijistani and Imam al-Darimi and Abu Zur'a al-Razi. These great muhaddithin of their era. And the number of shuyukh of Imam at-Tirmidhi are 221 in number. 221 in number. As far as his memorization, then he was one of the great memorizers of this ummah, one of the great memorizers of hadith, and he has several stories that give proof to his high level that he reached in this memorization. From the stories is that he says that kuntu fi tariq Makkah, that in my seeking of hadith I was traveling to Makkah, and I heard from it, or in that area, from a muhaddith. I heard in his gathering of hadith 2 juz of hadith that he wrote, 2 ajza of hadith that he wrote. A juz in the terminology of the scholars of hadith is something that is of 20 pages. Generally it is of 20 pages. So he wrote 40 pages of a hadith from this sitting of this scholar, of this muhaddith. After which he met this muhaddith, so he started asking him about some of the ahadith that he had written from him in his sitting, reviewing some of the ahadith with him. So the muhaddith started asking him about these ahadith, and Imam Tirmidhi started narrating them or what he heard from him. So when he tried to look at the 2 scrolls that he had with him, where he had written his hadith, he saw that the scrolls he had left behind, and he had white pieces of paper, empty pieces of paper with him. He had empty pieces of paper with him, and the scrolls he had left behind. So out of shame, the muhaddith kept asking him, and he kept responding him from his memory. From his memory, and acting like he is looking at a piece of paper, but it is blank. Acting like he is reading from a piece of paper from the hadith that he wrote of this muhaddith, but it is blank. And when the muhaddith saw that the piece of paper is blank, he said, "Ala tastahi minni? Do you have no shame? Do you have no shame?" So Imam Tirmidhi mentioned to him what had occurred, that he thought that he had the ahadith written with him, but he had forgotten it, and he only has these blank pieces of paper. So he asked him, "How were you reciting upon me these ahadith?" He said, I have it memorized. I have them memorized. So he tested me. He said, "Recite upon them." recite upon me these ahadith. 40 pages of ahadith, these two scrolls, recite upon me. So he tested him. So he said, I recited upon him every single hadith. So he did not believe me. The muhaddith did not believe me. So he asked me, Istadharta qabla an taji? Did you memorize and revise this ahadith before you came to me? You must have revised and memorized and repeated this ahadith before you came to me. So Imam at-Tirmidhi said, verily I have not revised or memorized. This is exactly what occurred. I thought they are with me and they are not with me, and I have recited to you with my memory. So he said, okay, recite upon me other ahadith. Other ahadith. So he said, I recited upon him 40 other ahadith. 40 other ahadith with the chains of narration. So he said that the muhaddith said, okay, I will recite to you 40 ahadith right now. I will recite 40 ahadith right now. He recited 40 ahadith upon him. Then he told Tirmidhi, recite them back to me. Recite this 40 hadith back to me. Give them back to me. So Imam Tirmidhi says, فَعَدْتُهَا عَلَيْهِ مَا أَخْطَأْتُ فِي حَرْفٍ. That I recited this 40 hadith that he just recited to me back to him. I did not make a mistake in a single letter. I did not make a mistake in a single letter. So this was the memorization that these great scholars of hadith were blessed with, and that Imam at-Tirmidhi was known for, from being the great memorizers of this ummah. As far as his students, then from the most famous or well known of them are those students who narrated this book, Jami at-Tirmidhi, upon him. From them is Abu al-Abbas Muhammad ibn Ahmad al-Mahbubi. Abu al-Abbas Muhammad ibn Ahmad al-Mahbubi. From them also is al-Haytham ibn Kulayb al-Shashi. Al-Haytham ibn Kulayb al-Shashi. And Abu Muhammad al-Hasan ibn Ibrahim al-Qattan. Abu Muhammad al-Hasan ibn Ibrahim al-Qattan. These are from his students who narrated Jami at-Tirmidhi upon him. Abu al-Abbas Muhammad ibn Ahmad al-Mahbubi and al-Haytham ibn Kulayb al-Shashi and Abu Muhammad al-Hasan ibn Ibrahim al-Qattan. As far as the praise of the scholars of hadith upon Imam al-Tirmidhi, then it is vast in number. From them is a great statement of Imam al-Tirmidhi himself. He says that قال لي Muhammad ibn Ismail. Who is Muhammad ibn Ismail? Al-Bukhari. In his book Jami at-Tirmidhi and his other books like Ilal al-Kabir, etc., he always mentions Imam al-Bukhari by saying Qala Muhammad. Muhammad said, or Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Bukhari. So he said that Imam al-Bukhari told me that Man tafa'tu bika akthar mimma intafa'ta bi. That which I, Imam Bukhari says to Tirmidhi, that which I have benefited from you, his student, the Tirmidhi, is more than that which you have benefited from me. As we said, Imam Tirmidhi was from the foremost students of Imam Bukhari, spent a long time with him. So Imam Bukhari says that that which I have benefited from you is greater than that which you have benefited from me. This is a great statement from a great Imam al-Dunya, the Imam of the Dunya, Imam al-Bukhari, for this student of his, Imam al-Tirmidhi. Also from the praises is a statement of Imam Umar ibn Allak, Al-Hafidh Umar ibn Allak, in which he says that Imam Bukhari passed away and he did not leave in the vast area of Khurasan that was filled with muhaddithin. He did not leave in the vast area of Khurasan after him anyone more knowledgeable in the science of hadith than Abu Isa at-Tirmidhi. In knowledge of the science of hadith and in memorization. Baka hatta amiya wa dariran sinin. Imam Tirmidhi, from his fear of Allah and his worship, he used to cry a lot until he lost his eyesight from crying. That's why he is also called ad-darir. You will find in those people who have written his biographies, the scholars, they mention with him Abu Isa, Muhammad ibn Isa Sulami at-Tirmidhi ad-Darir, meaning the blind one. So he lost his eyesight, but this was in his old age, after he had completed his collection, his travels and his collection of ahadith, and writing or authoring and compiling this ahadith. As far as his death, then it occurred in the same town of Bugh, in the city of Tirmidhi that he was born in the year 279 after the Hijrah. 279 after the Hijrah, meaning he lived for a period of 70 years. He was born in 209 and he passed away in 279, so he lived for a period of 70 years. As far as his books, then of course from the most important and the greatest of his books is Jami, that we'll talk about in detail inshallah. From his books is Al-Ilal Al-Kabir, Al-Ilal Al-Kabir, in which he has gathered the statements of the great scholars of hadith of that time in ruling upon ahadith and the narrators of hadith, in praising and disparaging in them. And a lot of the statements in this book are from his Shaykh Imam al-Bukhari. If one wants to find the rulings of Imam al-Bukhari upon ahadith and narrators of ahadith and hidden defects in ahadith, then one of the most important books he should refer to is Al-Ilal Al-Kabir of his student Imam at-Tirmidhi. And it is called Al-Ilal Al-Kabir because to differentiate it from Al-Ilal Al-Saghir. Al-Ilal Al-Saghir. Imam Bukhari also has a book Al-Ilal, which he has written as an introduction to his Jami', which he has, which is attached to the end of Al-Jami'. At the end of Jami' at-Tirmidhi is a small book Al-Ilal, which is an introduction to the book Jami' at-Tirmidhi, in which he has talked about the condition that he has set upon himself in this book and the methodology that he has followed in this book. And of course from his well-known books that I assume that even in these countries is well-known is Ash-Shamail, Ash-Shamail al-Muhammadiyya, in which Imam at-Tirmidhi rahimahullah has gathered the descriptions of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his physical descriptions and his descriptive actions and manners, etc., which is a well-known book that has also been translated in several languages. Now we move on to the book itself, Al-Jami', Jami' at-Tirmidhi. So like always we will start with when Imam at-Tirmidhi started authoring this book. So we say that it seems that he started authoring this book in the year 255 after the Hijrah. He started authoring this book in the year 255 after the Hijrah. And we say this because of several reasons. One of them is that he most likely met Imam al-Bukhari for the first time and spent time with him when Imam Bukhari entered Nisabur and Khurasan. And as we said previously, Imam Bukhari entered Nisabur in the year 250. He entered Nisabur in the year 250 and he remained 5 years in Nisabur until the year 255. Until the year 255. And Imam at-Tirmidhi, he has mentioned in his book Al-Ilal Al-Saghir, which is an introduction to the book Al-Jami', in which he has talked about the book Al-Jami' and the methodology, that the majority of what he has mentioned in the book Al-Jami' regarding to ruling upon a hadith and praising and disparaging narrators, he has taken it from his Shaykh Imam al-Bukhari. So he has spent most likely these 5 years with him, benefiting from him, and after which he started authoring this book in the year 255 Hijri. And he finished authoring this book in the year 270 after the Hijrah. So if he had started in 255 and he finished in 270, that means he spent how many years in authorship of this book? 15 years. He spent almost 15 years in authorship of these books. I want to mention here that these numbers the scholars of hadith mention them as something that is probable. To paint a picture, it can be give and take a few years. Unless you have a specific statement from that scholar mentioning, like we had from Bukhari, that I spent 16 years authoring this book. Or someone mentions explicitly that I finished authoring my book in this year. Other than that, it is something to bring that information closer to the understanding of the listener. So these numbers, it can be give and take. This is a rough estimate that he might have started in 255 and he finished in 270. So he remained in his authorship for a period of 15 years. As far as the name of the book, the proper name, as we said, the well-known name is Sunan at-Tirmidhi. But the scholars of hadith, they always call it Jami at-Tirmidhi. And even with that, it has a proper name that Imam at-Tirmidhi himself has given this book, like Bukhari had, Muslim had, which is al-Jami' al-Mukhtasar min as-Sunan wa ma'rifat as-Sahih wal-Ma'lul wa ma alayhi al-Amal. Al-Jami' al-Mukhtasar min as-Sunan wa ma'rifat as-Sahih wal-Ma'lul wa ma alayhi al-Amal. This is the name that Imam at-Tirmidhi rahimahullah has given this book. And like always, we will study this title and along with the book Al-Ilal that he has written as introduction to derive the methodology and some of the conditions that Imam at-Tirmidhi has set out in this book. The first word is Al-Jami', and we have mentioned this before with Imam al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim. Anyone can mention what this word means?
It has like the 8 chapters.
It has all types of ahadith. Just not ahadith of ahkam like Imam Abi Dawud that are related to jurisprudence and fiqh. It has all types of ahadith. It has ahadith of belief, ahadith of tafsir, ahadith of seerah, ahadith of fadail, ahadith of alamatus sa'a, etc., etc. So it has all types of ahadith. Secondly, al-Mukhtasar. Al-Mukhtasar, the second word is al-Mukhtasar. And we have mentioned that this is meaning concise, summary. So the number of ahadith in Jami' at-Tirmidhi is 3,956. 3,956 ahadith, meaning almost 4,000 ahadith. Almost 4,000 ahadith. So, of course, he has selected these ahadith and entered them in his book Al-Jami' from vast majority of ahadith, vast number of ahadith that he heard in the 20 years that he spent in his travels seeking the knowledge of hadith. And as will come, in difference from the differences between Jami' at-Tirmidhi and Bukhari and Bukhari, that he does not repeat ahadith. Imam Bukhari does not repeat ahadith. We said Imam Bukhari repeats ahadith, but with added benefit, similar to Abu Dawud also. But Imam at-Tirmidhi does not repeat ahadith. And this number that we mentioned, 3,956, as if it is the number of the ahadith of Sunan Tirmidhi or Jami' Tirmidhi without repetition. The repeated ahadith are extremely, extremely few in number. They're extremely few in number. So we can almost say that this is the number of the ahadith of Jami' Tirmidhi without repetition also. Give and take a few ahadith. Let me continue. And he has specifically stated this condition that he has set out in his book Al-Ilal, the introduction that he wrote to the book Jami' Tirmidhi, where he said that I have only mentioned a select few ahadith in this book in hopes of summary and conciseness, because that is more beneficial to a student of hadith and student of knowledge. He has explicitly stated that from the conditions upon him, that he has made this book concise and summarized, so that the student of hadith and the muhaddith can easily benefit from him. And I think we should take a short break inshallah here, and we'll continue
5 minutes.
after the break inshallah.